alive! He's in 1885!
Oh crap, I forgot how the soundtrack to that goes. I was gonna do that.
Wow, Corey, way to drop the ball.
I just realized I fucked up with the 80s movies
Yeah,
reference.
thank you, by the way.
God dang it. This is the second part of our Battle of the Decades for Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, the Sunday after Super Bowl Sunday.
So we're about a week past Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes.
Go Eagles!
Those points.
What do we got left here, Danielle?
We have special effects, overall movie, and then just overall the decade in general.
Okay.
In the overall section, you get to finish defending why your decade is the best.
So would you like to spin your magic wheel?
Okay. Just to recap, we are doing the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000s. You each get 2 minutes to defend your topic, and then for the overall, we'll do 5 minutes, probably.
Sounds like good. We all agree this is a good plan?
Stop looking at me.
Stop looking at me, Schwan.
So for special effects, we are starting with the 70s.
You got your 2 minutes and started.
I'm gonna try the timer. Just wait. Timer.
Wait. I gotta put my paper
Did
in
you
order.
write too many notes, Laura?
Maybe, yes.
What can you
And you've had nothing to say so far.
Oh, I would say something there, but
Are you ready?
maybe.
Okay, go.
Okay, so in the 70s, for our special effects, we actually start seeing us moving away from claymation, and we're starting to move into more of the special effects. So we're actually getting our miniatures built. We're using those for it. We get to see more of the green screen, but less of the claymation. Our special effects, yes, are maybe not the best yet, but it's leading the way for it. We're also moving out of Technicolor and into everything that we're seeing now. Again, with the visual effects and everything too, we didn't rely on visual effects in the 70s. We actually relied on acting to make the movie.
That's not a good argument for special effects.
I think special effects is going to be the hardest argument for all.
It is going to be the hardest argument because, and again, the 70s wasn't reliant on special effects. It was reliant on acting.
That's fair.
Is this the end of your
Yeah.
minutes? Yeah, no, the 70s sucks for special effects. You're right, Laura.
And it wasn't claymation so much as it was stop motion.
They did have a lot of claymation.
I know that's what I said so much though.
Yeah.
Isn't claymation, stop motion kind of the thing?
Well, you use stop motion for claymation, but like Gremlins, for example, is stop motion, but it's not claymation.
Mhm.
So
But the 70s is really when you start seeing the miniatures and the strings and everything to move it all around.
Yes,
Like-
you actually did see the strings.
You,
And
you,
like little net shooting up Spider-Man's hand. And yeah.
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't a special effects, decade by any means, but you did have Star Wars, which was pretty groundbreaking for its time, right?
And a lot of that was done. Star Wars was pretty much done with miniatures and strings.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, this is going to sound really weird when they were actually editing the movie, how you get all that misty scene around the wheels with them flying and everything, was actually somebody sitting there with a cotton swab and Vaseline smudging it up.
Really?
Yep.
High tech.
I don't even want to get into it. I've done cotton swab.
We are adults. We're all
We've
adults.
been through this. We keep losing listeners because we're talking about this.
All right. The 2000s now.
The 2000s, wow. Way to go from like the worst decade of special effects to the best decade of special
Let me
effects.
just get the timer going.
Just hand it to me now, guys.
Again, go.
Okay. This decade offers some of the some of the best special effects ever. Remember Spider-Man before the 2000s? How terrible it was. Yeah, it was terrible, right? And now Spider-Man in the 2000s was amazing. Iron Man fused with like CGI and practical effects. It was seamless. You believed a man could fly, like literally.
That was the tagline for Superman. I think
Well,
you were-
while you say that, the best looking Superman movie was in the 2000s. You argue with me that the best Superman wasn't Superman Returns for special effects wise. Maybe not for story wise. But like, compare it to Christopher Reeves or even the Henry Cavill stuff, like, it looked better than both of those.
And Henry Cavill was 2013, so technically at the second decade. So.
Yeah, no, the mustache gate was terrible.
Nah.
Lord of the Rings, I know Corey said these special effects don't hold up, but they totally do, man. Like, it's so, you could not do Lord of the Rings with the special effects out of any other decade, not the 80s, 90s, like not even close, right? The best fight scene in all of Star Wars was in the 2000s, like that fight scene between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. That was beautifully done on the lava. Like there's no comparison, and that was all special effects that it did that, right? Like
They didn't really fight on lava?
they didn't really fight on lava, right? Harry Potter could not happen in any other decade other than that. Like the special effects were just astounding, and they weren't quite at the point where it was pure CGI yet. They were almost there, but that's the end of my point on the 2000s.
You had more than just.
I had a little bit more, not much.
I unfortunately have nothing I can say because special effects, not surprisingly, only get better with time. And so when you've got the last decade out of the decades, you have to be the best. Otherwise, it's a disappointment. Anytime somebody says that the special effects look better than they do now, A, are lying, and B,
I honestly think the special effects in the last couple of years have taken a dip.
I can agree with that. Like it seems too computery, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Well, with everything as they're advancing through the technologies, you're going to see a dip, but then it changes again.
Well, it's because they're trying new things to save time, and it sometimes cuts corners and cuts costs.
I think the 2000s is actually like where they had the balance right. They hadn't quite, maybe the 2010s probably have some better, cleaner CGI stuff, but like they had gotten so far away from practical. Like, look at Iron Man in 2008 and then look at Iron Man in Endgame, and like his suit's completely CGI by Endgame, and it looks so much better in 2008 because he was in a real suit there.
Yeah.
They just enhanced it with the CGI, and the CGI was good enough to do it, right?
Yeah. That's just like the different
Yep.
original suits. They were literally screwed into their suits.
Oh, Pacific Rim.
Interesting.
So, what's the next decade we're on?
So
Just wait. Now go.
the 80s had some, pretty decent effects, all things considered. Again, of course, they're dated now. But back then, like, Return of the Jedi, was phenomenal. Like, with the AT-ATs walking and the big lightsaber battle at the end, everything like that. Like, the special effects were pretty amazing for that. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh.
That movie was groundbreaking when it came out. Just to seamlessly integrate animation with live action, it was unheard of, and it was amazing. Ghostbusters, like I said, a little dated now, but back then was absolutely phenomenal. Poltergeist. A lot of people forgot how much they rely at the end of the movie in special effects. Like, it started out as a tension building movie, but then at the end, like with the creatures coming out of the little door there and everything, it was pretty impressive. Never Ending Story. Remember the statues that shoot the lasers out of their wings there? Like, and that was believable. So Even with the horse dying in the mud there, like obviously they didn't kill a horse to make that movie. I don't think anyway.
Every single time.
Yeah, right? So special effects were big in the 80s. They started relying on more and more. Like Laura said, the 70s kind of brought out special effects. The 80s started to rely on special effects. And then, like I said, I have to concede that as the decades got farther down, then yes, they definitely got better. So that's all.
You know that the tagline at the end of movies that go, "No animals were harmed during this movie."
Yeah.
It was an '80s movie. Why that exists, eh?
It was probably never any story, wasn't it?
No, it was actually Milo and Otis.
You know how many cats they went through for that movie?
It was a lot.
Like a lot of cats. There's one part of the movie where there's literally a cat being thrown off a cliff.
Yeah, and I guess like throwing cats.
Yeah.
Well, Disney was notorious for owning a puppy farm back in the day, where they just bred puppies to use and then get rid of.
Yes. But like Milo and Otis, it was a Japanese filmed movie.
Hmm. Well, it was the Japanese like filmed it and then they like cobbled it together for like an American release. Like, it's like a totally different movie in Japan, isn't it?
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that movie with my kids and was like, this is so cute. And then I did like, oh, this is not what I thought.
You realize the horrible backstory to it? Yeah.
All right, the 90s.
Yay!
Yay! Just wait, let me get my timer going again. Aha, go.
So we got Jurassic Park. They started doing the dinosaurs with. What did they do with the dinosaurs?
CGI them?
They did a little bit of CGI with
I
them.
thought they were robotics.
They were robotics. No, they were robotics. They were starting out the robotics for that era. What else was there? Titanic. They did the submarine down there, scoping that out. They did that. That was kind of cool. Saw that the other day. That's kind of cool. What else was there? There really wasn't too much, was there?
Good job. Terminator 2. Arguably the best special effects to this day.
And the Lion King. Like the wildebeest stampede, that was all computer.
Yes, that would. I just assumed because it was an animated movie.
Big guys.
No, everything used to be hand drawn.
Let them flounder. Come on.
They want me to flounder because I didn't really do my homework.
I have information in my brain.
Trying to think in my head now.
Yeah, you should have wrote these down.
The Crow.
Fun.
Yeah, the special effects were so good in The Crow. It was like a real gunshot.
Right? Like Spawn with the cape and everything.
Spawn's not a good example.
That Spawn really wasn't a good example. That was really shitty.
The Mask in the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not defending yourself.
Yeah, I'm not
Can you move on from special effects for you, Danny?
Not defending myself forever.
You know, it was the birth of CGI, like you were saying with the wildebeest and everything like that. But it definitely hadn't been perfected yet. That is the problem, right?
Yeah.
The Mask was groundbreaking at the time. I'm glad
Yeah.
you mentioned that one, right? Do you got the audio a little bit more mic'd up there? I know Danny was a little low there too, and I know Daniel needed a little pop.
So quiet.
Yeah.
All right, so now all-time movie. Is that was the suggestion?
No, I guess movies in general.
Movies in general.
Yeah, guess the movies of the era.
Of the era. Okay. So now we're on movies of the era, and you're starting with.
Most of them or just what they were?
No, you gotta like why they're great. Why the movies are great.
We got the 90s.
Oh, that's the most prepared guy.
The most prepared guy, right? Let's see.
Look at the look of horror on your face.
Yeah, I know. They always prepared.
Like, well, we're just gonna list all the movies that they've already said.
Yeah, I said no Googling before we started.
Okay, and go.
Oh, do you?
Jesus.
Do you need more time? Did she start too
Maybe
soon?
start with.
We're good. We're good.
We're good?
All right. Let's do this right. Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks, and that was a cool movie, like that one. Pretty Woman was there. Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, one like that. Who didn't like a prostitute movie? Who didn't like a rich man treating that
family
prostitute movie? What else out there? Schindler's List was fun. It was a good movie too. Can't remember what that was about most of the time.
Yeah, it's so good a movie, you forgot what it's about.
Oh, I did. I'm straight up.
Really?
People are dying to see it though.
They were dying to see it, yeah.
Huh.
Some guy had a list.
Some guy had a list. It was a
Oh
list.
man, this is
There's a lot of red.
There was a lot of yeah.
one girl in a red jacket.
Yeah,
The whole movie was in black and white.
I know.
Yeah,
That was the long time I watched it. That was a whole long time ago. Oh, shit. You think I'm gonna remember all that?
you have the easiest decade with movies. You're killing me here.
I know. I like it. It's fun for you. Alright, so what? We got Lion King was in there. It's a good movie too. Beauty and the Beast was a good movie. Dance Wolf was a good movie. Jurassic Park was good too. Who didn't like Silence of the Lamb? Who didn't like likes to kill people?
Freudian slipping happening.
Hey, you didn't do enough work, okay?
10 seconds.
Okay, Good Will Hunting, Braveheart,
Five.
Matrix. Alright, I'm done now. I'm done now.
Yes, you are.
Danny, you had arguably the easiest decade to pull out great movies,
Yep.
and then you just like bombed your segment.
Yep.
It's
sure
so
did.
glorious. It makes it easy not to have to argue against you.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I think the results speak for themselves.
Right.
I guess number listing them, that's a good way to like.
Right.
Though, to be fair, some of those movies is just like so great that it's just like, yeah, he doesn't need to say anymore. Oh, I'm curious how you're gonna do your overall.
I'm not.
Yep, that's what I envisioned.
You okay? You're now going to do the 80s.
So weird.
Okay, again, iconic movies, iconic soundtrack, iconic everything. Ghostbusters came out in the 80s. Everybody still talks about Ghostbusters. Everybody knows Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is like a go-to movie for so many people. Goonies, come on. Everybody loves Goonies. They're talking about making a sequel now, so I'm a little upset. But yeah, Lost Boys, still the best vampire movie ever made. Princess Bride, come on.
Ooh.
Come on. What's called Princess Bride was funny because, like, I was a man's man when I was a boy, and I didn't watch romances. Romances are dumb. I was Fred Savage. You know, it's like, oh, this is dumb, this is dumb, this is dumb. Okay, let's just hear a little more. Okay, we'll finish this. And yeah, so it was great. Back to the Future, absolutely phenomenal, iconic car, iconic movie, iconic acting, iconic soundtrack. Maybe just one song, you're right, but still. Well, I guess Back in Time. But Back in Time was not a great song still.
Concede.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah, right. The Breakfast Club, still one of the most, in general, iconic movies out there. To this day, like, I had it for sale. I think I sold it. It was like a 13-year-old kid. Or no, 16-year-old. I think they're 17. Anyways, and well, because it was a friend's kid, and they pointed it out and everything like that. So that movie is still well known to all the generations. E.T. I mean, that's really the movie that put Spielberg on the map, even though his first movie was Close Encounters. But everybody knew him for sure after E.T. The Shining, one of the best psychological thrillers and Descent into Madness movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in the 80s.
You had more than good way.
Actually, Raiders was my last one, so I'm okay.
You know, I feel like Spielberg is mainly known for Jaws, which is a 70s movie. Wasn't that his first big movie? Like, Close Encounters was a big movie, but Jaws was like where the blockbuster began. That was like 76.
Embarrassing the Towns, I totally forgot that was Spielberg. So
Did you?
yeah. So
I
that's
just watched Jaws.
Really?
you like Bruce?
Bruce is the shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
They
because
nicknamed
of
him Bruce, and hence why Finding Nemo they named him Bruce. So.
Yeah, I had to really think about that. Sorry.
You know, you had some strong stuff in there, you know, but you know, it's maybe a little overrated the 80s.
Sorry, you were trailing off there. Are you not confident in what you're saying right now?
I guess say the 80s might be a little on the overrated side. Like-
Overrated.
Yep, overrated.
You were allowed to feel that way.
Yeah, and you're allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, or inaccurate.
Yeah.
Okay, Jack. The
Well,
2000s.
The 2000s, eh?
Then go.
Personally, I feel the movies of the 2000s are much more accessible than like 70s or 80s movies. And they've got way more franchise power than the 90s had. And like that's basically what the 2000s were. They're the rise of the franchise, right? Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, the MCU kicked off. Like, franchises were around, but like franchise power became like a huge thing. Like, maybe we had like the odd like Star Wars or the odd Indiana Jones, but like true franchise power really, really kickstarted in the 2000s. And man, even amongst those huge movies of the 2000s, you have like these little lost gems, like Gladiator, No Country for Old Men, American Psycho, Kill Bill. Like the list goes on for great movies in there. And then these smaller movies that I love, like Repo, the Genetic Opera, The World's Fastest Indian, 1 Week, Pool Hole Junkies. These are movies that are like near and dear to my heart. I just love them. They're this little unique niche of movies. And the comedies. Oh my God, the comedies that came out in that time, like Anchorman, still quoted this day. Napoleon Dynamite. People just love that movie. Jackass the movie, the funniest movie of all time. I will fight people on that. Super Troopers came out in this time. All the great Judd Apatow movies of the time. Oh my God. The best Batman movie was from this time. Shaun of the Dead was from the 2000s. Like, the way the genres were redefined in Shaun of the Dead was just amazing. Like, the 2000s, just, there's amazing movie after amazing movie in the 2000s. I'm done.
What?
Jackass, the movie, is the funniest movie of all time, and I will die on that hill.
I can't stand that movie.
The funny thing is that my favorite comedy of all time actually is also from the 2000s, but it was none of the ones you mentioned. So.
Is it Bring It On? No, not Bring It On.
Oh yeah, totally.
Fired Up?
No, but I do love that movie.
Oh, American Pie. I should have known that.
Yeah, and
No, American Pie was 1999.
that was the one I was thinking of right away.
Oh,
Role Models.
Role Models is your favorite comedy of all time?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes. American Pie is like my favorite movie of like the 90s. My favorite non-Terminator movie.
Are you guys gonna tell me that movies like American Psycho aren't like amazing?
Oh,
Or
100%.
No Country for Old Men?
Also a great movie.
Like-
However, the only thing I'm arguing is really the birth of the franchise. How much time do you have?
Okay. The birth. So the franchise did start before, but like, I want to say this was the era of the franchise. I think I misspoke with the word birth.
Okay.
But this
I will
was
get
like,
behind that more.
but the franchise became a dominant force in the 2000s.
Okay.
Like, you know.
I will back down my stance.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Why Batman?
What, the best Batman movie? The Dark Knight's the best Batman movie.
Isn't it?
Yep.
I don't know. 89 turned out a pretty good one.
Yeah. This one, yeah.
You guys are
Still
wrong.
the best Joker.
Yep.
You guys are also wrong.
How are we wrong?
The Dark Knight's better than
And then-
Batman 89.
Jeff is allowed to have his opinion, albeit wrong.
I
like the Dark Knight.
I love the Dark Knight.
He's just not the Joker.
But apparently, everybody was missing Corey's motion too, with just bringing up all your favorite movies.
Yeah, Jeff literally like listed like a good chunk of my favorite movies.
Like if
I can't. If you just want to win this one.
I
It's fair.
have to list off my favorite movies before this podcast.
That's okay.
I feel like if we stopped people on the streets and took a poll of the best Batman movie, you would find 5 out of 10 would say The Dark Knight, and then the other 5 would be maybe like 3 would be 89, and then the 2 would be some other one that you wouldn't necessarily come to mind. Like it
What
go
age group would you be pulling?
Yeah.
anybody, random people on the streets.
If as long as the
Yeah.
age groups like
A
span,
diverse.
yes,
a
then
diverse
I don't
age
think
group.
so.
I think so. I think there's like a small number of people in like your specific age group, Corey, that might pick 89. But if you ask older or you ask younger,
Danny,
Dark
are you
Knight-
older or younger than Jeff?
I'm older than Jeff.
89 or 2008?
89.
he's in your age group. He's in your age group.
He's younger than you.
Yeah. No, he's older than me.
Older.
Oh, sorry. my bad. Either way.
He's in your age group.
Yeah.
But I feel like the older one.
Danielle, what's your opinion on 89?
That means Dark Knight.
Can I be very honest?
No.
I haven't. Okay.
Thanks for asking, though.
I haven't seen the '89 one,
Well, that's okay.
so I
Not as good as everybody says it is.
I just love Jack.
I can't have an opinion on something I haven't seen.
I have a hot
Have
take.
you met Mike?
Yes, I have. But I don't have an opinion. I don't have the information to have a good opinion or unbiased.
I have a hot take, everybody. I think Prince is kind of overrated, and Prince kind of ruined '89 for me. Like there was too much Prince songs, and it didn't make any sense to me. Like
It fit Jack's character.
I don't know. I didn't like that aesthetics. I don't know. I was not like '89's a fine enough movie, but I guess it's not. I think it pales in comparison to The Dark Knight.
I also do really like the new Batman that they came up with, Robert Patterson.
Oh.
Danielle, I don't know if you're too
can't-
far away
I
from your
like that.
microphone, but you're really quiet.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
I can't lie. I like the Patterson one too.
Like he just feels more like a real person to me.
You see, that's why I like The Dark Knight, because that's like, to me, the most realistic one. Patterson one's pretty realistic
Right,
too.
a character that has Man-Bat and Clayface and Killer Croc as his rogue gallery should be realistic.
I feel more relatable to the Robert Patterson Batman.
Oh, and I don't like the guy, so I feel really bad, but I'm also a corrector. So, Pattinson, Pattinson.
You should dock him points for that, for correcting the judge.
Dogs for brown nosing.
Yeah. Nobody has heard of Remo the Genetic Opera. That was totally an ass kiss movie.
I said those are personal movies of mine that are favorite. Like a lot of people haven't heard of Secondhand Lions or Pool
That was
Hall
great.
I
Junkies.
love Secondhand Lions.
Beautiful small-time movies, right?
Still looking cool.
Pool Hall Junkies is really good.
Okay.
Okay. Alright. 70s. And go.
Oh, list.
I have a big list of 70s movies.
You don't have time.
I probably am. Shut up. Alright. So, in the Corey, shut up, Jesus Christ. In the 70s, we see a lot of flow between the movies. So, like, we get our drama movies. Prominent in that area is going to be Godfather Part 1 and 2. We also, early 70s, start seeing the emergence of horror movies again. Exorcist comes out, which is rated one of the best since Psycho. It still has not been topped. Nobody can top The Exorcist, or hasn't been able to yet. We see Star Wars, Clockwork Orange, Carrie, our musical, Saturday Night Fever. We see MASH. MASH comes out in the 70s. It's a big hit. They're tackling the issues of the time. We also start seeing Jaws, which everybody loves that shark. It's Bruce. We also get to see Animal House.
Fisher Friends.
It's our friends, not food. Yes, Corey. But, we have Animal House come out, American Graffiti. We've got Every Which Way But Loose. And who doesn't like seeing orangutans in movies? We get
Left turn right.
Left Turn High. Corey, you're in the way. We also get Dirty Harry. We get Kramer versus Kramer, Deer Hunter, Apocalypse Now. And then we get to see DC hit the big screen for the first time.
Ooh.
We get Superman. We also get Smokey and the Bandit,
5 seconds.
Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Towering Inferno, Shaft,
And done.
and I wasn't done. I actually have a lot more.
You ended on Shaft, eh?
Isaac Hayes for the win.
If I was listed off iconic 70 movies, Shaft is probably not where I would have wanted to be.
It honestly was not where I wanted to end, but you know what? It worked.
You know, those movies are all great for their time, but I don't think that they're as accessible as like a lot of the movies of the later days. Like the 70s, you know, they just weren't as open to the average person, you know? At least I don't feel like they're so gritty and dark, and you know, they're also so quiet and stuff like that. Like the Deer Hunter is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right?
Probably not the Deer Hunter, but when you start looking into stuff like The Towering Inferno and All the President's Men, those are.
I don't think I've ever seen The Towering Inferno. Is it pretty good?
Yes, The Towering Inferno is pretty good. Wow.
Is there a building on fire in it?
Yeah, actually there
Is
is.
there an inferno in the building?
It's implied in the name, Jeff.
You think the building's
You
a tower?
never know these days.
I think it's a bungalow.
yeah, it's a split level. Oh. Are these rankings pretty tough there, Judge?
Yeah.
Have we given you the impossible job? You're doing wonderful tonight.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible.
Mm-hmm. You know, you really got to listen to like the person's arguments in them. I think, like,
Yeah, I
you
am.
know?
Well, it's like a court case. The closing arguments make or break your case.
Yeah. So yeah.
Should we give you? How about we take a quick 5-minute break here, guys, and then we'll come back with our overalls, okay?
Okay. Good, because I need to ponder my life.
So we're back from the commercial break.
Yay!
Oh, well, what are we moving on to now, Danielle?
You get to do an overall defending of your era.
Wow, I bet you Danny has this long prepared speech.
Nope, sure do not.
Oh, thank God we gave the guy that does the least amount of work the easiest decade to win.
Failing at it.
And
I salute you, Danny, for helping me win this,
You're welcome.
this decade battle.
You're welcome. You never know. Corey could take it.
Yeah, you know, it's...
Corey or Laura could probably take it. Laura's got a
Laura's
lot
done.
better information than
The fact that
Or
she's
even
prepared
myself.
she is
If she's
nothing.
prepared, she could take it.
Like, the 80s got nothing on the 2000s. I'm going to say that out loud.
I know, you know, most of the movies you picked is favored over there.
You know what? Yeah, that's because the best movies came out in that era. Listen, I did not know this when we picked you as a judge. So,
I'm pretty sure I don't know, probably on our trip to Grandparents, like, I love this movie. I love this movie. I love this movie.
whoa.
We went to Grandparents.
I call foul.
This is...
Next time we get a different
I
judge.
thought we were getting an impartial judge here.
I think Jeff
But I
needs
actually
to.
come into like the database and like, oh, I love this movie. I love this movie.
I don't listen when you talk.
Okay, just on that alone, I think both of them need to lose points.
Whoa.
Just because you're now confident with your deck, it doesn't mean you have to take it out on us.
I could win if you do lose points.
Danny would just need to put in some legwork.
Like, just go later than I have to. So.
Yeah, my husband laughed at me when I said that I was going to be a judge for movies. He's like, you have terrible taste in movies, but you just love them all.
Which is why you're the perfect
The
judge.
worst movie ever. I love it.
Then the merit's going to be based on our arguments and our points we bring up, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start with the 2000s
We're going to
first.
start with the 2000s, eh?
All right, closing comments, Your Honor.
When you get close to a 5-minute mark, I will have to stop you.
Okay.
Have fun.
Okay, so to start off with the 2000s, I said it earlier, it was the rise, not the birth, but the rise to prominence of the franchise. Enduring franchises like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter were dominant in this time, and it was the birthplace of the MCU. Outstanding special effects littered this decade across all the board, with CGI, I guess, improving and improving upon itself as the decade went on. Some of the best scores of any movie are in this decade. Like, it may lack some of the iconic songs of the 80s, but it has such a good potpourri of selection, from iconic soundtracks to iconic scores, that it's hard to argue that it's not the best musically as well. I didn't make all my way through some of the best actors in that era, but I love to point out that Jim Carrey, who should have been a shoo-in for in the 90s, arguably had some of his strongest acting roles in that era with Eternal Sunshine. Oh, and what was that one Stephen King movie that he was in?
Number 23?
Yeah, no, that wasn't a Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
But
Dude.
yeah. No, I confused that with 1408, yes. But it's because
No.
similar,
Just stop.
similar premise movies, okay? Similar premise.
No!
Are they not?
No.
Okay, well,
That was me. That was my bad.
yeah, we were both saw
I was
that
very
too.
wrong.
Sorry. I loved the small budget movies of that time. Like, I professed my love for movies like Secondhand Lions and The World's Fastest Indian. I didn't get a chance to talk about Robert Downey Jr. just totally turning his career on the head in the 2000s. Like, he went from a washed-up actor from the 80s to like this amazing icon with roles like Sherlock Holmes and Iron Man. Like, he turned a nobody C-list hero into arguably the most popular superhero of our time in that decade, with the popularity of Iron Man. There's just so much good things to talk about it. You could argue now that we're long in the tooth in franchises, that there's some darker stuff that came out of there. But at the time in the 2000s, it was a golden era. Subversive horror films like Cloverfield. I don't even know. You can make an argument that Cloverfield's not a horror, but it's on that line of like scary monster movie, I guess. So you could make that line. Oh, the Japanese remakes of the time, like The Ring, and I do believe Old Boy was remade in the 2000s. These are great foreign movies that came into the American audience of that time. Wes Anderson was at his peak in this era. I love me some Life Aquatic. Probably my favorite Bill Murray role is Life Aquatic. And that's saying something, because I loved Ghostbusters. But man, I loved and adored him in that quirky little movie. There's so many things sprinkled like that. Transformers were here, and say what you will about whether or not those movies are good. They are a spectacle. Like, they are a spectacle upon any other spectacle, along with Avatar. Like, the beauty of these movies that came out in there, these giant blockbusters, there's no other decade that can touch that kind of spectacle. Like, is there another decade that has a movie as big as Avatar? It's still the number one grossing movie of all time, even after all these decades. Came out in 2009, and the CGI still holds up in it. I'm not a major fan, but it's hard to argue the popularity. Harry Potter's still relevant to this day. And like that franchise ended almost 15 years ago. And don't bring up the Fantastic Beasts stuff. I think that the franchise was done before that, but there's an enduring popularity of the Harry Potter that still continues to this day. And I have a friend or two that would argue the best Star Wars movies came out in the 2000s. And that is my closing argument for why the 2000s are the best movie decade.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
You lost me at Cloverfield.
Which, by the way, I would consider a horror movie.
Would you?
Yeah.
But I guess it's a subversive monster movie in that genre, right? It's an interesting take on that. You know, you've got like the clunky monster movies of like the 70s, and Cloverfield's so different from that. It was just such an interesting take, in my opinion, right? And it was more to show the diversity of that era. Like, you know, the 90s all sort of have the similar flair in the movies. The 80s.
Still talking.
I see that.
This is your chance to argue with me, actually.
Well, we would, but you won't shut up.
Maybe there's just so many wonderful things to
Okay.
talk.
This coming from the man. Here's your argument. This coming from the man who thinks Jurassic Park is a horror movie.
Is it not?
No!
Oh my God!
Thank you!
Danielle, you are never allowed to come back.
Danielle,
Classified as.
Action?
it's not really an action movie, though.
Sci-fi?
It's not sci-fi.
No, not really.
I mean, they use science to create them.
Right?
So it's kind of like a sci-fi.
It's a horror.
It's not a horror movie.
Danielle, come back
Then
anytime.
Back to the 52 is a horror movie then.
Ah, you say you will.
I did say that too.
I have to recontemplate my movies.
Well, I mean, we've already established you have horrible taste in movies. So.
Corey.
I was banned from renting movies.
Corey,
Oh, wait, now I remember.
I have heard you admit that there is something to my theory about Jurassic Park being
There
a
is
horror.
something to your theory. Doesn't mean I agree with
I
it fully,
think
but
Corey was drunk that night.
I don't drink. What are you talking
You're
about?
just being steadfast and holding to your guns, and that's okay. You can like,
I
wow,
still don't think it's a horror.
that's logical.
It feels horror-ish to me, but I'm not a big horror.
It has all the elements of a horror movie.
Just
So
because
would
the
you
lawyer.
ask yourself if the dinosaur went through the toilet and ate you, would you like be scared shitless?
No.
I would probably
But you
have
would
shit
probably be
myself.
dead before you even got to that position.
I also as much I know the love of the Jurassic Park movie. I can't stand it, mainly for the little girl screaming the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
She took it away from me.
It's kind of like the Babadook.
Yeah, she did scream loud.
And I just couldn't get past that, her screaming the entire time, and I just.
That was like War of the Worlds. Freaking Dakota Fanning needs to go away, and War of the Worlds was the reason.
Wait, she didn't go away?
Well, she kind of has now, which is good, but she lasted longer than she should have.
She's back on the scene now again because of her sister,
Who's your sister?
Elle Fanning.
She's not really that much anymore, is she?
Yeah, a couple of years.
He's been doing more this year again.
Yeah,
I don't think I know who that is.
it's her sister. We just said that. Pay attention.
Okay.
Take your word for it.
Now we have the 80s.
The 80s.
The 80s.
The greatest decade. Okay.
Go.
Okay. So, if you were to ask Joe Blow on the street, you in the comment, if you interview people on the street, and you just put it in the simple terms, what was the greatest decade? 8 times out of 10, they will say the 80s. And I'm going to say that. So, as I put right here, great movies, iconic movies, movies that your kids' kids can say. If you went up to a 8-year-old kid and said, "Who are you going to call?" he will know how to answer that.
911.
That was good. Actors and actresses that even your grandkids have heard of are from the 80s, right? And it may have helped that they obviously stuck through. Like most of the classic 80s actors kept going, like because most of them still make movies today. Some of them have passed on, but it's iconic. Like Back to the Future. If you show somebody that car, they know exactly what that's from. You don't have to have any context. It's the most iconic decade by far. And I feel I don't have to explain it much more than that, but I am willing to hear arguments. I'm done already.
I feel like being iconic doesn't make you the best. I guess it makes you the most recognizable.
Is that not what makes something good, though?
Well, just being recognizable doesn't make you good, no. Like, you could be iconic and well-known, and like, Taylor Swift is iconic and well-known. Is her music the best music on the planet?
While we don't agree, how could a billion people be wrong?
Well, some people will argue that she's like very terrible, though,
Oh,
right?
she's awful, but that's not the point.
But everyone knows her.
Yeah, like everyone knows the 80s. The 80s is the Taylor Swift of movie decades.
And Taylor Swift is probably the richest person in her craft. So is that not showing success?
I thought the richest person in her craft right now was Beyonce. I mean, they just bought a Grammy.
Yeah.
She wants country music.
She was surprised.
Everybody who was watching.
Actually,
was
and
surprised.
Gojira beat Metallica for album too. So that was crazy.
Who beat Metallica?
They're not bad actually, but it's called Gojira. It's exactly what it sounds like. But
I don't think I know them.
yeah. Anyways, the Grammys were shit this year.
Yes, they were.
Yes.
But no, but like I said, iconic. Success means liked, generally speaking. Generally speaking, success means liked.
I'm just curious. I was going to say, if he was Taylor Swift was the 80s, would that make the 2000s Beyonce for you?
Wannabe.
If you want to talk about success and popularity, the 2000s has the highest grossing movie of all time. If you want to talk about success and popularity.
Because they charge more to go see them.
But, like, you don't make $2 billion at a movie without people going to see you, right? Like, the only movie that's ever grossed $2 billion. So there might be two of them now.
Do you know how long they kept that movie in the theater?
Because it was iconic and popular.
Which one?
Avatar.
I went to go see that 3 times in theater.
This is your fault.
I apologize, but it was good.
If she went 3 times, there's $1 billion right there.
And they wanted to stay number one. You notice how Endgame was number one, and then they put Avatar back there just to take number one away from them.
We're not talking about the legalities of how they returned back to number one.
I went to see it 3 times. I went to see it 3 times.
Speaking of 90s movies missed too, Mortal Kombat.
That doesn't really raise the stock of the 90s.
I saw that movie 3 times in the theater too. So.
Helping him.
Anyways, no, but yeah, no, that's all I have to say. I said the 80s are iconic and recognizable, and I'm using that as my argument. Because if something just no longer becomes recognizable, there's no more money going into it, there's no more popularity going into it, there's no more reasons for people to watch it anymore, and that, in my opinion, is a failure.
I think I can speak for everybody. Let the fucking 80s die, for God's sakes. We gotta let them die. I can't handle any more of these 80s reboots anyway. Like, how many new Ghostbuster movies do we need?
Okay, that's reboot.
Those are reboots. They don't count.
That's the judge saying that, by the way. Don't argue the judge if you held him in contempt.
They are reboots. I have a hard time with reboots. Like, let the originals be original.
And they can be, and that's the thing. That's my open-mindedness with reboots. Is the original is not going away. You can still watch the original.
Yeah.
You can choose not to watch the reboot. You don't have to shit on it. It's my opinion on the Superman movies, for example.
So what next?
This new one, people are like, "Oh, it's not the
It's
Snyderverse." I'm like, "So watch the Snyderverse. Nobody's stopping you."
That's true.
So
Yeah, the Snyderverse is of questionable quality. Anyway.
It's pretty bad. Anyway.
They were taking out aspects of that one from 52 as well.
The new one?
The Snyderverse one was like 52.
That was more Injustice than anything else. Injustice with a hint of Frank Miller that was poorly written.
Very
I don't really see the injustice that you're talking about.
Do you not know how the story was going to continue?
Well, wow, how it was going to continue, yeah, but like that doesn't mean that it was in the Snyderverse. Like you got to actually, you got to talk about real movies that exist, right?
I suppose.
I actually think the way it would have continued would have been pretty cool. I actually would have been excited to see it play out, but yeah.
Anyway.
We're on the 90s.
Boom. All right. We're going to talk about that. All right.
Settle down, Daddy.
All right. I'm gonna
He's got his booklet out now, so.
No booklet. No booklet. So we're going to start with, let's go with animations. Lion King. All right, boys. Let's sing the song.
Don't worry, it's for the rest of your day.
Just because you can have us sing the song of your mention of a movie means nothing.
I just wanted to hear you guys sing it. Let's start with that one first. That's awesome. All right, so we're gonna go with the 90s. So I did start with The Lion King. That was a great movie. I like that. That was my
I've never
first
seen
movie.
it, so
Really?
just kidding.
How do you like?
Really, I like that movie. That was great. Next ones would be Schindler's List. That was a great movie too. Oh, yes, that was black and white. I did like that. It was a great iconic movie. Shawshank Redemption. That was great. I like that one as well. Hey, this is my movie.
Listing the movies,
But
Not the overall, not the listing of the
maybe
movies.
I'm wrong. I'm gonna say,
Okay.
fine. I had enough of you guys. I'm not doing it anymore.
Wow, you were like on the road to be like doing really good and like winning your thing. I was like, oh
You guys
shit.
were just ruining it for me. No, I'm done.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. Move on.
God damn it, Laura.
Our timekeeper is confused right now.
You.
Ruin
Do you have anything else to say about that?
Ruder.
You broke the judge.
Oh, it's gonna be like 3 minutes of me laughing. So the 90s were all just Danielle laughing. That sounds accurate though. The 90s was just me laughing.
I was really worried that you were going to go on this big run about all these amazing movies. And I'm like, uh-oh, we're all in trouble. And then you said ruined it. I was like, whew. Thank God. Oh. There's a bunch of duds from the 90s anyways. And, like, people like Spawn for some reason. That's kind of a terrible movie, right? There's a bunch of like,
Fantastic, terrible movie.
well, it was a fantastic, terrible movie, but it was still a terrible movie nonetheless.
Way too good of a cast for being such a bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
Also Blade.
Yep.
Blade was a pretty good, solid movie.
Blade was a great movie.
The CGI effects kind of not.
No, at least not at the Deacon
No,
Frost scene.
ruin it. I get it.
How long are you defending your era?
Come on.
It also came out with Rock-a-Doodle Doo, so like that movie was
Pretty sure it was
terrible.
just Rock-a-Doodle. There was no Doodle.
Was it Rock-a-Doodle?
Yeah.
I think you were right. It was Rock-a-Doodle.
I always just called it Rock-a-Doodle Doo.
Oh,
It also had Pebble and the Penguin.
Thumbelina was pretty terrible.
We're not defending very well.
Oh, we're trying to talk about the bad movies in there. When did the,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Ruin it.
Coneheads came out in the 90s?
Yeah.
They did.
Burbs.
Oh, God. So
Forwards. Did that come out in the 90s?
Yes,
well,
it did.
I thought that might have been early 2000s. Yeah.
No, that was the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like mid-90s, like
Yeah.
95, 96.
Yeah. Look at us defending your era.
I remember Wars is considered a true ending.
Well, I'm
Street Fighter.
Thank you, yours.
It was an innocent question.
We're on to the 70s.
He's gonna ruin it. Alright. Daddy would take it. Alright. So, are you sure?
Go ahead.
You're positive? Okay.
After your overall 70s.
Alright, so the 70s we see the cementation of the actors that are iconic today, like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, all of the big, well, they're older now, but the bigger actors. But we're also...
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of dead actors from that era.
But we're also seeing at this point the emergence of socially relevant movies. Movies that are touching on the issues of the time, like the Vietnam War, political and cultural issues. We also see the emergence of Stanley Kubrick, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Martin Scorsese. Oh, whatever. I don't care at this point. Shh, Chia. So, during the 70s too, which marks the technological advancement for the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, we see the move in sound, special effects. All of this is paving the way for the other decades. At this point too, we are seeing, like with move away from the sound, we're seeing the move to handheld cameras, on-site location shooting. Everything at that point was done in studio prior to this. We've got movies that are pushing boundaries for storytelling. They're challenging the norms of the time. And it's leaving a lasting impact on cinema at this point. There is a reason why the 70s were called the golden era. And it's because of everything that you guys get now. Okay, I'm good.
You have
What?
you still have 3 more minutes.
I don't need 3 more minutes.
2 minutes only?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was probably one of the most well thought out things I've ever heard you say on this podcast.
Yeah. It's like she wrote it down
Yeah.
into 11 pages.
No, I thought it was just fucking movie.
It's
Loser.
a terrible thing that you've got the boringest decade of movies in the world.
You know what?
She needs something to make it good, yeah. So.
Without my decade, yours wouldn't exist.
But the movies are so boring back then. Movies are so much more exciting nowadays.
So,
Are they?
remind me to quote you when you want to watch Dork Wars.
The fact that you refer to it as Dork Wars tells you how meh it really is, though. Right?
Rent free in your head.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
And yet you like that movie.
Or one movie from the decade that you've picked. Oh, I like a plethora of movies from the 80s and the 90s.
You like one. Corey Gets the Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Carrie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Amityville Horror. I can keep going.
I still stand by what I was saying a couple podcasts ago that I didn't think The Exorcist was a good movie.
What?
Yeah, I think The Exorcist is a rubbish movie.
I really, really, really think that there's something wrong with you.
This thing.
That's a long conversation to have.
It's really boring up until the end, and then the end is just kind of eh.
And again, the soundtrack in that movie makes it worth it.
Me and my wife both left that movie in the theater because we saw it at the Bailey, and we're just kind of this is the boringest movie I've ever watched in my life.
But you've also said that you're not into horror movies, so your opinion doesn't count.
But there's horror movies that engage me and excite me, right? And
The
that
horror movies aren't there to engage you in it. Well, engage you, yes, but not excite you. It's a suspense build-up tension movie. It's not an action movie. It's story-driven, not action-driven.
Which is again why they used the soundtrack and the orchestra in the 70s.
But they don't like for me personally, they don't engage me, which is why I find movies of that decade boring, right? Like that's the problem with like The Exorcist or like Halloween. I found that a boring movie, right? Like they just the 70s is just not near as engaging as the newer decades.
And yet I find most of the movies from the 2000s do not hold my attention. They are extremely boring. They bounce around too much. And yeah,
Well thought out.
it is well done. Pretty much everything you said about the 70s is how I feel about the 2000s.
Wait, there's too. Wait, you said there's too much going on though. This is the opposite of what I said.
We'll add that in there for my ADHD.
Yeah. So not enough going on in the 70s and too much going on for you in the 2000s, eh?
The 70s had a story.
I feel that, barring a few, and this can be said about the MCU too, is a lot of the stories feel like a story. They don't feel like something that that's a plausible story. Like the MCU, obviously. I mean, when you got something, it's a fantasy in its own right. So obviously it can't happen. Hopefully, yeah. But I just find that the stories in the 2000s aren't as gripping and as intriguing as the 70s and the 80s.
See, because also with the 2000s and even some of the 90s too, you're dealing with the fact that you're relying less on acting and more on special effects and CGI.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people would argue that like Lord of the Rings is a very gripping story though.
That's why I fell asleep. Twice.
Well, you know, sometimes it can be hard to get into an overwhelming story like that. You know, that was an allegory of World War I, Lord of the Rings. You know, it was very depth, really deep storytelling in that, you know?
I have read every single book that came out for Dungeons and Dragons, and The Lord of the Rings is still more boring than those. The movie and the books.
There's deep storytelling in there, and you'd be hard-pressed to argue there's not.
You know, minus the
So
fact
3 movies of people just walking.
This is how reading the book.
minus the fact that he wrote them while he was stuck in a trench.
Mm-hmm. Gladiator is like a beautiful story about a man coming up through like the army ranks and then being indentured as a slave and then rising up against the Caesar. Like that's an amazing story to tell.
And his special effect was the overuse of baby oil.
I mean, depending on the type of movie, that's not a bad thing.
But to say there's no storytelling, like you know, you'll cherry pick this, you cherry pick that. You know, I think there's plenty of examples of great storytelling. No Country for Old Men is just like an amazing adventure.
Which is funny because most people don't even understand the story behind that.
Adventure's the wrong term, but like I'm trying to rearrange that into the words I'm looking for. But like, that's just such great storytelling in it, I think. Anyway, but
You're so good at elaborating it.
And again, like we're all allowed to have our own opinions on this, but yeah, it's for me, the 70s, even maybe into the 80s, the story was at least there. They told a story.
In the original Star Wars, which movie of the 3 had the best story and best everything?
It's Star Wars. I don't care.
That's the first one of the, like the number 4, episode 4.
The New Hope.
Yeah,
When
I
you're
don't
counting-
know the names.
if you're counting all of them, the most gripping story is quite often argued episode 3. What kind of think of the name?
The last
Revenge of
one.
the Sith?
Yes, Revenge of the Sith.
But I'm talking the original 3.
No, so like the
Well,
4 or 5.
if you're going to talk Star Wars movies.
No, but I'm just saying.
What had the better story?
In the original trilogy, what was the best one?
Well, probably Empire.
Right.
Out of the original 3.
I feel like I should bring Victor so that you guys can have a conversation with him.
Either way, Empire Strikes Back 1980. That's all I got to
But
say.
it's not even the best Star Wars movie by some people's argument.
By some people's arguments.
We're
Like,
not talking about some people. We're talking about us. And Star Wars right now is mine.
Except for Empire Strikes Back, which is mine.
You don't talk right now.
or except for Revenge of the Sith, which is mine.
Yeah, again.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was like, episode 1 is 99, so never mind. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Then that would be dead.
Yeah, but that's just episode 1. So. Who cares? Watch it. Episode 1 is
Too
good.
bad.
All I remember is Jar Jar Binks, and I hated him.
I just remember Liam Neeson and Darth Maul, so that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That was with Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I tried to steal Duel of the Fates for my soundtrack argument because I think that's like the best music in all of Star Wars, and I was like, fuck, that's 99.
So bad.
It's so good.
So good. Okay, so you could get an overall score out of 25.
Overall score. Oh, should we take a quick commercial break, Danielle, or are you ready to tell us our scores?
Would you like to know your scores now, or do you want to wait?
How about we give ourselves just a quick little breather
Okay.
for everything, and then we will come back with the scores.
Well, now that that's over with, I'm quite interested to see what the judge has to say.
You kind of look like Santa Claus.
Green giant.
So this was actually really hard.
I have to ask you to speak up just a little bit, Danielle.
Okay, so it was actually really hard to decide. As I said, I think in the first part of the podcast, I scored it on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being super awesome, 1 being
Meh.
meh.
I remember that.
Meh. The overall over 25 points, the 90s got the lowest.
Aww.
15.5. You did not defend yourself very well.
Sorry, how many points?
15.5.
You had the Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, Titanic, Terminator 2, and Jurassic Park, and you scored a 15.
Well, I could have said my overall score didn't stop me.
You kind of kept going.
Yeah, so sorry, 90s. You did not do well. The 70s came next at a 16.5.
Only 1 point more than Danny.
Wow.
I had a hard time with the special effects. You scored the lowest for the special effects. I'm sorry.
Makes sense. I mean, the 70s didn't have good special effects.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so that was the lowest score. You got a 2 for the special effects. So you almost had a meh.
Almost.
You had a eh.
You subtracted a letter. One more, you would have got a.
And the 80s
Oh.
and the 2000s tied.
Oh.
What? No.
21 points.
Out of 25. That's good job, sir.
I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like
I
you're
want you to break down those categories for us too. Just us two.
Okay, so for the 80s, the actors, you got 4. For the soundtrack was 4.5. Didn't quite get a woo. For special effects, you also got a 4. And then overall, 4.5. And then your movie list was also a 4. For the actors of the 2000s, you were at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Soundtrack 4.5 because I just can't quite give a 5. I really wanted to. It's 4.5. Special effects. I absolutely love the special effects of the Lord of the Rings. They were that in particular. Sorry. So I was 4.
Only a 4.
Only a 4.
I feel like the special effects deserve
Stop
more.
around nosy.
Particularly for the Lord of the Rings, I know a lot of interesting facts of the special effects of the Lord of the Rings. It wasn't actually computer stuff.
A lot of green screen.
A lot of green screen. It was also, yeah.
A lot of well done green screen.
A lot of well done. They also went.
Built some of the most
They built a lot of really, really cool things. But some of the other movies that you listed as really cool special effects, particularly Harry Potter series, they had Daniel Radcliffe speaking to a tennis ball on a stick for Dobby. So lost points there.
Well, I didn't say anything about the tennis ball on a stick.
That's just fact that I know that I
Unless there was a bias.
Oh, she's the judge. She's allowed to be biased.
So because
I was promised an unbiased judge here.
you
As you
asked,
proceeded to kiss ass.
I do like the Harry Potter series. I just don't think they have some of the best special effects.
And they don't.
Now, sorry, Jeff. I'm
Another
gonna,
movie in the 80s that has better special effects.
Then a tennis ball? Come on, Corey. You got this.
no. What I want to say is, yeah, he was talking to a tennis ball on a stick. But in the movie, did you believe Dobby was there?
Dobby definitely looked like he was computer generated.
But-
So did all the hippogriffs and all the magical creatures.
Hippogriff.
That's in the third movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen those movies like twice, ever.
I watch them every year.
Okay.
So-
Anyway, no, yeah, either way.
Yeah,
like,
the Ash gets done up the scores out, eh?
Yeah.
Now she's a loser.
Yeah.
That's fair. I was banned from renting movies by my friend.
you can get movies here anytime you want.
Yeah.
I'm not here to ban you this time.
That's okay.
That's why I lost points. I helped her husband ban her. Yeah.
Really? I thought you were being figurative.
No.
no, I was not allowed to.
Why?
He came in after the last set of movies that she rented, and I got she is not allowed to rent movies on her own.
It's a legit thing.
I don't even get that. Art is subjective. Just because you like shitty movies doesn't mean they're shitty movies.
Oh.
Hey, I at least told her.
Yeah. She's like, you're not allowed to. I was like, I
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
know. But then I did something for my children, not for me. Can I get a Barbie movie?
Okay, just not that one because it sucks.
There was a few times, several kids, I want this one. Oh man, really again?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. I love you so much.
Obviously.
Does he listen to your podcast, you do?
I don't think so.
Good.
We'll listen to this one.
Probably not.
Good.
And then for movie choice, the list of movies, I give you a 4. And then overall 4.5. I feel like you defended yourself very well.
That's what I like to do.
Yeah. So you tied for first, both in like every single category.
I feel like overall should be a tiebreaker. I don't remember what his overall was.
His overall was also 4.5.
Dang it!
Like it was literally like you guys scored the exact same.
Huh. Well, you know what, Corey? You know what this means? Laura and Danny are losers.
And I tried hard.
Jeff, remember, I teach you stuff your kid dangerous stuff safely.
I know how well my kids' retention of knowledge is, so I'm okay.
So good job, you guys. I had a lot of fun hearing all about your eras, except the 90s.
Don't look at me, you were failing before that.
It was, yeah.
Are you going to blame this on us doing this on Super Bowl Sunday?
Yes.
Not
yes.
that it's Super Bowl Sunday
Well, not now.
anymore? Yeah, that was a week ago.
That was Family Day weekend.
Yeah, it's Family Day weekend.
You know this is going to screw up my whole week, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm so confused what day.
She doesn't go to work tomorrow.
I don't go to work any day.
But technically, you live at work.
Yeah,
Kids are a handful.
yeah, they are, and
Especially when you have 4. I could barely handle 2.
yeah, there's 4 of them. They're wild and feral, and it's just wonderful at my house.
And buses are canceled tomorrow.
Oh, we homeschool, so school's still going. Yay! We're probably just gonna do arts and crafts. Great. All right. So, good job.
Danielle, I want to speak on behalf of the whole real life opinion quartet here. I'd like to say it was a delight and a treat to have you on here. We all loved having her as a judge, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Please.
And best to be unbiased. Harry Potter, which I
Next time, be more biased. My God. Yeah, if you just could have been a little bit more biased my way, I would have appreciated that.
And Jeff loses a point for sucking up, so I am the winner.
It's a 20.
Yeah, whoa. Oh.
Been found in contempt, sir.
So the snow should have been thrown at Jeff, not you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Listen, we tied. It was a fun fight for
It was
you.
a good one. It was good.
You guys well defended yourself, and I think the 70s could have done better with their special effects, but they were just starting out, so.
Yeah, what do? You
11 pages, and she can't even finish in the top 2.
Well, technically she got second place.
Technically I did, yes.
Yeah. You guys tied for first. You guys both get a gold medal. And then there's us.
If I would have got the 90s, I would have walked away.
You know what they say with second
Yeah,
place,
what's
right?
a good tone for that?
First place loser.
Or as my kids would say, second the best.
If you ain't
That's just something
first,
crappy people say.
you ain't winning.
So Courtney, here's a question that I always used to ask. How good's your insurance?
I don't know. I'm always looking for a way out, so.
But now it's tradition. We normally go around the table, tell everyone to. Oh, normally we say final thoughts.
Well, that was kind of our overall
Yeah,
one, so.
yeah.
This is the final
Final thoughts. Danny, final thoughts.
I have no final thoughts.
Laura, final thoughts.
I just said that you can't have final thoughts with this.
Corey, final thoughts.
80s rule.
Danielle, final thoughts.
I love movies, and I'm really happy that I'm no longer banned from renting movies.
Everybody say goodnight.
Good night.
So long and thanks for all the fish.
Is that it?